You have sensed it before, the quiet pull, the subtle call. A sacred intelligence has been guiding you all along, moving silently through your life, waiting for the moment you would awaken. This is not simply a book. It is a threshold, an invitation into the hidden architecture of existence. Introduction: the divine law. Beyond time, beyond illusion, there exists an eternal current, pure, unchanging, and luminous. This is the divine law, the breath of creation itself, flowing beneath all that is seen. It has not reached you by coincidence, but by purpose, drawing your spirit back toward a truth it has never forgotten. The divine law is not complicated, nor is it locked behind riddles. It is the original harmony, the vibration that existed before the first star ignited. Though it may seem mysterious, it is closer than you realize. You can find it in the silence between thoughts, in the stillness of early morning, in the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Those who walked this path before you did so with reverence. Their wisdom remains etched in ancient ruins, whispered through sacred chants, and encoded within timeless symbols. The same guiding light that once illuminated their way now shines upon yours. This text is not meant merely to be read. It is meant to be remembered. It awakens the ancient spark within you, the divine ember buried beneath fear, doubt, and distraction. These words were always yours. They were planted within you long ago, waiting patiently for the moment they would bloom. Everything in existence moves according to an eternal order, shaped by laws that cannot be broken. You are not separate from these laws, you are their living expression. When you align with them, you return to your source. You become the key, the channel, the force through which the extraordinary becomes possible. This path asks something of you. It calls for humility, for the release of illusion, for the courage to let go of inherited beliefs and remember who you truly are. The wisdom is ancient, yet it lives inside you, dormant only until you choose to awaken it. You are here for a reason. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, has guided you to this moment, to this doorway. What lies beyond it is yours to explore, and the time to begin is now. Part 1: The Great Awakening. Remembering the Lost. Chapter 1: The Whisper Beneath the Noise. In a quiet village among gentle hills, Elelana sat at her old wooden table, getting her needle through cloth as she had done countless mornings before. Sunlight spilled softly through the window, tracing familiar patterns across the room. Everything appeared the same, yet something had changed. As her hands moved in their usual rhythm, she noticed a whisper, soft as silk, clear as crystal. At first she dismissed it as the breeze or a distant voice, but it remained, persistent, gentle, speaking not in words, but in meaning her heart somehow understood. The universe always begins with whispers. You know these moments, the subtle nudges, the inner stirring that arises without explanation. These are not accidents. They are the first signs of awakening, light breaking through the fog of unconscious living. Every soul carries within it a divine receiver, eternally connected to the source of all creation. Your present circumstances, whether abundance or struggle, are not fixed destiny. They are the result of patterns long repeated without awareness. The divine law never pauses. It does not respond to spoken wishes, but to the silent signals of your deepest beliefs. When you begin to question your reality, when you feel that life must hold more than what you see, you are hearing the eternal call. It speaks through chance encounters that feel meaningful, through dreams that follow you into waking, through ideas that refuse to let go of your mind. In a bustling city far from Elena's village, Harold sat at his desk, reviewing the day's headlines. For 20 years, he had arranged other people's stories, but tonight was different. As sleep claimed him at his desk, he found himself walking through a dreamscape where a path of golden light emerged beneath his feet. With each step, the path brightened, revealing itself only as he moved forward. In that luminous moment, Harold understood. The path had always been there, waiting for him to notice. This golden path beckons to you now. Like Harold, you stand at the threshold of recognition. The law has been speaking to you through every moment of divine discontent, every unexplained yearning, every inexplicable knowing that there must be more to life than what appears on the surface. As the ancient practice of awakening suggests, find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and allow your breath to become gentle and regular. Let your awareness drift back through the corridors of your life, noting the moments when something seemed to call to you, a book that practically leapt into your hands, a chance meeting that changed your direction, a persistent dream that wouldn't fade. These are not random events. They are the law's whispered invitations to awaken to your true nature. Chapter 2: The Ancient Covenant. In the gentle light of a late afternoon, Walter ran his weathered hands across the brass latches of an old chest that had belonged to his grandfather. As the lid creaked open, time itself seemed to pause. Among the treasured remnants of generations past lay a leather-bound volume, its spine cracked with age, its pages yellowed by centuries. As you will come to understand, such discoveries are never mere chance. They are moments when the universe opens a door to ancient wisdom. The truth you are about to encounter has been preserved through ages, passed down by those who understood the eternal principles that govern all creation. From the mystery schools of Egypt to the sacred temples of India, wise ones have always known what modern quantum physics is only beginning to grasp. That consciousness shapes reality, that thought precedes manifestation, that the mind aligned with universal law becomes a channel for infinite possibility. These ancient keepers of wisdom did not hide the truth to keep it secret, but to preserve it for those ready to receive it. In every age, in every culture, they embedded this knowledge in symbol and metaphor, knowing that those who sought with sincere hearts would find their way to understanding. In the quiet corners of a city library, Clara organized ancient texts, performing her daily duties with practiced care. One morning, as sunlight filtered through high windows, she discovered a scroll tucked between two volumes. As she unrolled the delicate parchment, the words seemed to shimmer with an inner light, speaking directly to her soul, though written in an age-long past. Each line resonated with a truth she had always known but had forgotten. You are like Clara, rediscovering what your soul has always known. The principles outlined in these chapters may seem new, yet, as you absorb them, you will recognize them as truths you have carried within you since before time began. This recognition is not learning, it is remembering. The wisdom keepers of old understood that the most powerful truths must be experienced rather than merely learned. Therefore, take up your journal now in the sacred tradition of those who came before. At the top of a fresh page, inscribe this question: what have I always felt was true, even if I couldn't prove it? Let your hand move across the page without judgment or censorship. Write as though you are recovering a message from your own soul, for in truth, you are. This practice connects you to the lineage of all who have sought and found the eternal truth that now seeks expression through you. Chapter 3: The Hidden Thread. In a modest shop on a quiet street in 1930s Boston, Henry crafted garments with the same careful precision he had maintained for 3 decades. His measuring tape knew the shapes of 1,000 bodies. His scissors had cut through miles of fabric, and his needle had stitched countless seams. But one autumn morning, something extraordinary caught his eye, a shimmer of gold among the ordinary threads of a jacket he had completed the night before. You see, Henry had not sewn this golden strand. It appeared as though woven by an unseen hand, catching the light like a ray of sun through stained glass. As days passed, he noticed this mysterious thread appearing in more garments, always connecting the most essential seams, creating perfect alignment where before there had been only ordinary stitches. This golden thread reveals the deepest truth of universal law, that beneath the visible fabric of reality runs an invisible principle of creation. Just as Henry discovered this mysterious force at work in his shop, you too are surrounded by this creative essence, weaving the patterns of your experience with sublime precision. The law operates not through strain or struggle, but through alignment. When your thoughts, feelings, and actions harmonize with your deepest intentions, you activate this golden thread of manifestation. Like an unseen seamstress, it weaves together the elements of your desire into the tapestry of your reality. In a classroom across town, June taught her students with dedication and care. Over time, she began to notice something remarkable. Her students' experiences seemed to mirror her own emotional state. On days when her heart felt light with possibility, her students discovered new talents within themselves. When she carried worries, their faces reflected similar concerns. Without speaking a word about her inner world, she watched as her consciousness created ripples through their collective experience. This resonance June witnessed demonstrates the law in action. Your emotional frequency sends out an invisible signal, attracting experiences that match its vibration. Like June, you are constantly broadcasting a pattern that the universe faithfully reflects back to you. The golden thread Henry discovered and the resonance June observed are one and the same, the visible evidence of an invisible law. This principle flows through every aspect of creation, connecting thought to manifestation, intention to outcome, inner state to outer reality. To activate this principle in your own life, practice this ancient visualization each morning. Sit quietly and imagine a golden thread emanating from your heart. See it extending outward, connecting you to everything you desire to manifest. Follow its path with your inner eye, feeling the alive, vibrant connection between your consciousness and your creations. This thread is your direct line to the creative force of the universe, the same force that guides planets in their orbits and flowers toward the sun. Chapter 4: The Nature of the Law. In the rolling hills of a distant valley, Samuel tended his fields as generations before him had done. For 7 years, his harvests had been meager, barely enough to sustain his family through winter. Yet one spring morning, as dawn painted the sky in gentle hues, he remembered words passed down from his grandfather: "The earth listens to those who speak with faith." That morning, Samuel began a new ritual. Each day at sunrise, he walked his fields, speaking words of abundance into the soil. "This land is blessed. These seeds multiply abundantly. The harvest overflows." To any passerby, he might have appeared mad, but Samuel continued, feeling something shift within the very air around him. When autumn came, his fields yielded a harvest unlike any he had seen, golden wheat standing tall, each stalk heavy with grain. The neighboring farmers marveled, for they had planted the same seeds under the same sky. You see, the divine law operates with the same unwavering consistency as the law of gravity. It requires no belief to function, just as an apple falls whether or not you understand the force that draws it to earth. This law flows through all creation, responding to the seeds of thought and word with the same reliability that brings forth plants from physical seeds. In a small town not far from Samuel's farm, Mabel attended births as her mother and grandmother had before her. After decades of practice, she noticed that difficult deliveries often coincided with her own unspoken tensions. One night, inspired by an inner knowing, she began cleansing the birthing room with whispered blessings. "This space is filled with peace. Life flows easily here." The shift was remarkable. Not only did her patient seem more at ease, but complications decreased noticeably. Yet Mabel had changed nothing in her medical practice, only the invisible atmosphere she created through her conscious use of the law. The law responds not to your hopes or wishes, but to the energy you emanate. It is entirely impersonal, like electricity flowing through a circuit. The current doesn't judge whether you wish to light a room or power a machine. It simply flows according to established principles. This truth unveils why some find success effortlessly while others struggle despite their best efforts. The law operates through resonance, not through effort. Samuel and Mabel didn't force their outcomes, they aligned themselves with the law's natural operation. To begin working consciously with this principle, practice this time-honored affirmation 3 times daily. "The law is working through me even now." Speak it upon waking, at midday, and before sleep, not as a plea or wish, but as a recognition of an eternal truth, just as you might state, "Gravity is holding me to the earth." For in acknowledging the law's constant operation, you step into conscious partnership with its creative power. Chapter 5: The Sacred Mirror. In a bustling city street, a small salon stood as a testament to the law's reflection. Edith, who had styled hair for 20 years, began noticing an unmistakable pattern. On mornings when her heart felt light, clients would leave her chair beaming, their faces aglow with more than just a fresh cut. Yet on days when worry clouded her thoughts, even her most loyal patrons seemed to leave slightly dissatisfied, despite her technical skill remaining unchanged. You must understand this vital truth. The world around you serves as a living mirror, reflecting not your wishes or your words, but the essence of your being. This is the sacred mirror principle, a fundamental aspect of the divine law that shapes every interaction, every outcome, every moment of your existence. When Edith realized this truth, she discovered that her salon was not merely a place of business, it was a reflection of her inner sanctuary. As she cultivated peace within, her mirrors seemed to shine brighter. Her scissors moved with greater grace, and her clients responded in kind. Her revenue doubled not through marketing strategies or extended hours, but through this simple alignment with the law. In the same city, Ruth managed a boarding house that had known better days. Her tenants were distant, doors closing quickly at her approach. Each evening, she would sit alone in her small office, the weight of isolation pressing heavily upon her heart, until one day she understood her loneliness was not something being done to her, but something moving through her. Ruth began tending to her own heart as carefully as she tended to her building. She started taking her tea in the common room instead of her office, not to force conversation, but to nurture her own comfort with companionship. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, the atmosphere of the house began to shift. Doors remained open longer. Conversations lingered. Smiles appeared where there had been only nodding acknowledgments. This transformation occurred not because Ruth changed her tenants, but because she changed herself. The law, in its perfect reflection, simply mirrored her inner shift in the outer world. The sacred mirror principle reveals why affirmations alone often fail to create lasting change. Words spoken against the current of your true feeling state are like ripples trying to change the course of a mighty river. The law responds not to what you say, but to what you are. To work with this principle, establish this ancient practice. Each morning, stand before your mirror, look deeply into your own eyes, the windows to your soul. Speak one truth about yourself that resonates with love, not a wish or a hope, but a recognition of what already exists within you. This is not an exercise in positive thinking, but a moment of authentic alignment with your inner light. The mirror before you is more than glass and silver. It is a sacred tool for aligning with the law's reflective nature. As you practice this ritual, you strengthen your awareness of how the outer world mirrors your inner state, enabling you to work more consciously with the divine law. Chapter 6: The Power of Being. In the depths of an abandoned theater, Victor sat before a grand piano, his fingers dancing across the keys in pure communion with the music. No audience filled the dusty seats. No applause followed his crescendos. Yet in those private moments, he radiated such complete joy that the very walls seemed to vibrate with his essence. He played not to be heard, but because music was his truth, his state of being. You must grasp this essential wisdom. The law responds not to what you do, but to who you are. Your actions, however skillful, are secondary to your state of being. Victor attracted success not because he sought it, but because he embodied the pure essence of music itself. When a lost traveler stumbled upon Victor's private concert, the energy was so magnetic that words spread like wildfire. Soon, the empty theater filled with those drawn to the authenticity of his performance. Victor had manifested acclaim without seeking it, through the law of vibration and being. The law operates through resonance, not effort. Your outer world must align with your inner state. This is an immutable principle of creation. What you are being will always speak louder than what you are doing. In a small village, Louise understood this truth in her own way. Each morning before dawn, while her bakery lay quiet, she would sit in peaceful gratitude. She felt the abundance of life flowing through her even before opening her shop. She didn't merely think about prosperity or work harder, she became abundance itself. As surely as dew forms on morning grass, Louise's bakery began to flourish. Customers appeared as if guided by an unseen hand. Her shelves emptied earlier each day, yet the true miracle wasn't in the increased sales. It was in how naturally it all unfolded, flowing from her state of being rather than from anxious doing. Your identity is the mold into which life pours its possibilities. When you shift who you are being, the universe must rearrange itself to match your new vibration. This is not magical thinking. It is the law expressing itself through your consciousness. To align with this principle, you must establish your declaration of being. This is not a list of goals or affirmations, but a sacred statement of identity. Take a clean sheet of paper and write, "I am becoming." Let the words flow from your deepest truth, not your surface desires. This declaration becomes your morning invocation, not a plea to the universe, but a reminder of who you truly are. Read these words each dawn as the sun brings light to the world. This is not a mere exercise in positive thinking, but a conscious alignment with the law of being. Your declaration serves as the energetic blueprint from which your reality will naturally unfold. Chapter 7: The First Gate: Awareness. Along the iron rails that stretched across the countryside, Frank guided his train with practiced precision. Yet his most important discovery came not from the mechanical rhythms of his work, but from a simple practice he began. One autumn morning, before each stop, he would pause, close his eyes, and whisper his gratitude for the journey, for his passengers, for the gift of motion itself. As time passed, Frank noticed something extraordinary. The days he practiced this ritual flowed with remarkable grace. Delays diminished. Passengers smiled more readily. Even the weather seemed to cooperate with his schedule. He had stumbled upon a fundamental truth. Awareness precedes transformation. You stand now at the threshold of a profound understanding. The divine law operates continuously, whether you notice it or not. But awareness, pure, conscious attention, is the torch that illuminates your creative power. Without this light, you remain caught in unconscious patterns, recreating the same circumstances again and again. Think of your mind as a garden. Until you become aware of what you've planted, you cannot choose what grows. Your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are seeds scattered in fertile soil. The law ensures that every seed bears fruit, but awareness allows you to plant deliberately. In a modest home across town, Marjorie discovered this truth in her own way. One morning, while washing dishes, she began to notice her internal dialogue, the complaints about her family's habits, the worry about finances, the subtle self-criticism. All of it had been running beneath her consciousness like a hidden stream. Simply by becoming aware, something shifted. She noticed how her children's behavior mirrored her own emotional state. When her thoughts brightened, their attitudes lifted. When she spoke to herself with kindness, harmony filled their home. No external circumstance had changed. Only her awareness had awakened. This is the first key to mastering the divine law. You must become conscious of your creative process. Every moment, you are either creating by design or by default. Awareness transforms unconscious manifestation into conscious creation. To anchor this teaching in your daily life, establish an hourly practice of sacred attention. When your reminder sounds, pause and ask yourself, what am I creating right now with my focus? This simple question illuminates the seeds you are planting in the garden of your life. This is not a practice of judgment, but of gentle observation. Like Frank at his train stops, you are creating moments of conscious connection with the law. Like Marjorie in her kitchen, you are shining the light of awareness on your creative power. Chapter 8: The Illusion of Control. In a small garage at the edge of town, Donald worked late into the evening, his weathered hands moving across engine parts with practiced familiarity. For years, he had approached each repair with fierce determination, muscling through problems with sheer force of will. Yet one evening, frustrated by a particularly stubborn repair, he stepped back and did something different. He surrendered. You too must learn this sacred paradox. The divine law operates with perfect precision when you cease struggling against its flow. Your desire for control, though natural, often becomes the very obstacle to your success. In that moment of release, Donald discovered what masters have known through the ages. True power emerges when you stop forcing and start flowing. The engine that had resisted his efforts for hours suddenly revealed its needs, as if whispering its secrets to hands that had finally learned to listen. This is the essence of divine surrender. It is not weakness, but wisdom. When you release your grip on how things must be, you allow the infinite intelligence of the universe to work through you. Like water finding its path downhill, manifestation becomes effortless when you align with the natural flow of creation. Helen, a widow raising her teenage son alone, learned this truth through her own journey. Each day she had tried to control every aspect of his life, his choices, his friends, his future. Her love, though pure, had become a cage of anxiety and control. Only when she finally loosened her grip did she witness the miracle. Her son began to flourish, making wise choices that surprised her, revealing an inner wisdom she had never trusted to emerge. You see, the universe holds a vision far greater than your limited perspective can grasp. When you surrender your need to orchestrate every detail, you open yourself to possibilities beyond your imagination. This is not abandonment of responsibility, but rather a shift from rigid control to divine cooperation. Your task now is to identify what you must release. Each evening, in the sacred quiet of your room, write down one thing you've been clutching too tightly. It might be an outcome you're forcing, a relationship you're controlling, or a fear you're feeding. Take this paper and either burn it safely or tear it deliberately, letting each piece carry away your need to manage what is not yours to manage. This ritual is not merely symbolic. It is a physical declaration of your trust in the divine law. As you watch your written words transform through flame or fragment through your fingers, feel the lightness that comes with true surrender. This is the paradox of power. In releasing, you become free to receive. Chapter 9. The Divine Dialogue. In a bustling telephone exchange, George sat before his switchboard, connecting calls as he had done for 15 years. Yet one morning, something shifted. Between the familiar clicks and buzzes of incoming lines, he began noticing patterns, calls that seemed to answer questions he had just pondered, numbers that appeared in meaningful sequences, and conversations that carried messages meant precisely for that moment. The universe speaks in a language more ancient than words. Its voice reaches through the fabric of everyday life, weaving messages into the seemingly ordinary. You are surrounded by this divine communication, though you may have forgotten how to listen. Like George at his switchboard, you too are receiving signals constantly. The universe orchestrates events, encounters, and moments of insight with perfect timing. That book that falls open to exactly the page you need to read. The song that plays with lyrics matching your current situation. The repeated number sequences that catch your eye. These are not coincidences, but cosmic correspondence. In a small flower shop across town, Betty arranged bouquets as she had for decades. Yet recently she noticed something extraordinary. Certain colors would appear with unusual frequency, drawing her attention. Purple flowers would arrive unexpectedly when she contemplated spiritual growth. Yellow blooms would manifest abundantly during periods of mental clarity. Numbers began appearing in patterns, delivery times, flower counts, invoice totals, all carrying subtle messages she gradually learned to interpret. The universe's language is symbolic, speaking through the poetry of existence rather than literal words. It communicates through feelings, through instant knowing, through those quiet nudges that whisper, "Pay attention." When you begin to notice these patterns, you activate a deeper level of awareness that has always been available to you. Your task now is to become conscious of this divine dialogue. Create a synchronicity log, a sacred record of the universe's communications. For 7 days, document every unusual sign, every meaningful coincidence, every persistent pattern that catches your attention. Note the numbers that repeat, the symbols that appear, the chance encounters that feel significant. This practice is not merely about recording events. It is about training your awareness to recognize the subtle language of the divine. As you document these synchronicities, you'll begin to see the invisible threads that connect seemingly random occurrences. The universe will speak more clearly as you demonstrate your willingness to listen. Write without judgment, without trying to force meaning. Simply observe and record. What you may initially dismiss as coincidence will reveal itself as conversation, a cosmic dialogue you've been engaged in all along, though perhaps unaware. Chapter 10. The Master Key Revealed. In the quiet hours before dawn, Morris sat at his workbench, surrounded by the tools of his trade. That night, his dreams had taken him through endless corridors, each door yielding to a single golden key that seemed to pulse with inner light. Upon waking, the truth blazed through his consciousness. He had glimpsed something far beyond mere locks and mechanisms. You stand now at the threshold of understanding. Through these chapters, you have traced the outline of a profound truth. The divine law operates through your consciousness, waiting to be recognized and embraced. Like Morris's dream key, your aligned thoughts and beliefs unlock every door in the vast mansion of existence. This master key is not fashioned of metal, but of understanding. When you grasp that your internal world shapes your external reality, you hold in your hands the power to transform every aspect of your life. This is not a metaphor, it is the most practical truth in the universe. Consider how a physical key works. It must align perfectly with the mechanism to turn. So too must your consciousness align with the truth of your divine nature to activate the law. Your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs must match the reality you wish to create. This alignment is not forced. It flows naturally from your recognition of who you truly are. Dorothy, a seamstress in a small town, discovered this truth through an unexpected channel. After years of struggling to build her business, she began a simple practice. Each morning she would sit quietly and align her thoughts with the truth of abundance. "I am worthy of prosperity," she would whisper. "The universe flows through me as infinite supply." At first, nothing seemed to change. But gradually, as her inner alignment strengthened, her outer world began to shift. New clients appeared. Opportunities emerged. Her talents were recognized in ways she had never imagined. The key was not in her actions, but in her alignment. This transformation awaits you now. The master key is already in your possession. It always has been. Through alignment with the divine law, you activate a power that transcends all apparent limitations. This is not about forcing change through will, but allowing transformation through alignment. Your practice now becomes both simple and sacred. For the next 21 days, speak these words with full awareness of their power. I now hold the master key. I align, I allow, I receive. Let each word resonate with your entire being. Speak them not as mere affirmation, but as recognition of an eternal truth. This ritual is more than repetition. It is realignment. With each declaration, you turn the master key, unlocking new dimensions of possibility in your life. The doors that once seemed sealed will open before you, revealing pathways to manifestation you never imagined possible. Part 2, The Sacred Alignment, Living the Law. Chapter 11, The Language of Light. In a sunlit classroom of weathered wood and chalk dust, Agnes stood before her students, noticing something remarkable. When her voice carried warmth like honey dripping from summer flowers, the children's faces brightened, their postures straightened, and learning flowed effortlessly. Yet, when worry or fatigue tinged her words, a shadow seemed to fall across the room, dimming the very air they breathed. This truth you now uncover lies at the heart of creation itself. Vibration shapes reality. Your voice, your thoughts, your very presence send ripples through the fabric of existence. The universe speaks not in English or Latin, but in the language of frequency, a tongue you have known since before birth. Every thought you think creates an electrical charge. Every emotion you feel generates a magnetic field. Together, they form the mold into which the universe pours experience. This is not metaphysical theory, it is the physics of consciousness itself. Your brain emits measurable waves, your heart generates a detectable field, and these forces interact with the quantum soup of potential that surrounds you. When you speak, you do more than move air, you send forth waves of creative force. When you feel, you do more than experience sensation, you broadcast instructions to the divine law. This is why affirmations spoken without feeling fall flat, while words charged with authentic emotion can move mountains. Clyde, a jazz musician in New Orleans, discovered this truth through his saxophone. In moments of despair, he would play until the music shifted something inside him, not just his mood, but his entire energetic signature. As his notes soared, filled with newfound joy and possibility, his reality began to transform. Better gigs appeared, romance blossomed, clarity emerged. The music hadn't just changed his feelings, it had altered his frequency of attraction. You see, the law responds not to what you say you want, but to the vibration you maintain. Like a radio receiver, you must tune yourself to the frequency of your desires. Your thoughts provide the station, your emotions supply the power. Together, they broadcast your creative signature into the universe. This ancient wisdom becomes your practice. Now choose a word of power, radiance, clarity, or abundance. Speak it aloud 5 times each day, not as mere repetition, but as conscious broadcasting. Feel the vibration of each syllable. Let it resonate in your cells. Notice how your energy field shifts, how your presence changes. The word becomes a tuning fork, aligning you with its frequency in the universal field. Watch as the law begins responding to your new broadcast. Like Agnes' students or Clyde's audiences, your world will reflect back the frequency you maintain. This is not magic. It is the natural operation of universal law, waiting to be employed by those who understand its principles. Chapter 12. The Divine Spark of Desire. In a small shop filled with feathers, ribbons, and dreams, Beatrice crafted hats for the city's finest ladies. Each morning, as she shaped delicate brims and pinned silk roses, a quiet longing stirred within her heart, a vision of rolling hills, open skies, and a life untethered from urban constraints. Yet she pushed these thoughts aside, believing such desires were somehow wrong, somehow less worthy than dutiful acceptance of her current path. You must understand, desire is not the enemy of spiritual growth. When pure and untainted by ego, desire serves as the divine's messenger, whispering of possibilities that already exist in the infinite field of potential. The universe plants these seeds of longing in your heart not to torment you, but to guide you toward your highest expression. What you call wanting is often the first breath of creation stirring within you. The divine law operates through attraction, through the magnetic pull of solar-aligned desire. When you feel a persistent calling, not the fleeting hunger of the ego, but the steady pulse of true yearning, you are receiving transmission from the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all of creation. Eugene understood this truth. For 30 years, he dutifully managed his hardware store, selling nails and lumber, while something else called to him through his dreams. Paintbrushes appeared in his thoughts. Colors whispered to him in quiet moments. When he finally honored this calling, setting up an easel in his back room, he discovered that his desire to paint wasn't selfish at all, it was sacred. His art began touching lives, inspiring others, creating ripples of beauty that his hardware store never could. The universe had been calling him toward his true purpose all along. Every authentic desire carries within it the seeds of service. When you feel drawn toward something larger than your current life, you are not being pulled by greed or discontent. You are being summoned by your own expanding consciousness. The divine law works through attraction, through the magnetic force of aligned desire. Your desires are not random. They are not accidents. They are breadcrumbs laid by the universe, leading you toward your highest potential. When you judge or shame your deepest longings, you resist the very force designed to elevate your life. Take your journal now in sacred silence. Ask yourself, what do I truly desire, and where might that desire be sacred? Write without judgment or censorship. Let your soul speak through your pen. Notice which desires feel light, expansive, alive. These are the ones carrying truth. Chapter 13. The Law of Resonance. In the bustling telegraph office of 1922, Florence sat at her station, tapping out messages that connected distant lives. She had recently emerged from a period of melancholy, choosing each morning to focus on life's small pleasures, the warmth of sunlight through the window, the rhythm of the telegraph key, the satisfaction of messages clearly sent. Then something curious began to unfold. Among the usual telegrams of business and family news, messages of unexpected joy and affirmation began crossing her desk with increasing frequency. Life is beautiful beyond measure, read one. Miracles appear daily, declared another. Joy flows abundantly, a third proclaimed. You see, Florence had unknowingly aligned herself with the frequency of upliftment, and the universe responded in kind. This is how the divine law operates, not through coincidence, but through resonance. The universe does not respond to your words alone, but to the energy you emanate. Your vibrational signature acts as a template, drawing to you experiences that match your inner state. When you shift your internal frequency, external reality must, by law, reorganize itself to mirror this shift. Consider Archie, who sold newspapers on the corner of 5th and Main. For years, he approached each day with resignation, mechanically calling out headlines to hurried passers-by. His sales were modest, his satisfaction minimal. Then, through a simple shift in perspective, he began to see himself not as a mere vendor, but as a messenger of information, a connector of minds, a bearer of stories that mattered. This internal transformation radiated outward. His voice carried new energy. His smile became genuine. His presence became magnetic. Soon, regular customers went out of their way to buy from him. They lingered to chat, recommended him to friends, and left generous tips. Nothing about his newspapers had changed, but everything about his energy had. The law responds not to what you do, but to what you are being while you do it. Your emotional frequency is the mold into which circumstances flow. When you understand this principle, you hold the key to conscious creation. Your task now is to become precisely aware of your vibrational output. Begin this practice today. Each hour, pause and rate your emotional state from 1 to 10. Notice where you are on the scale of alignment. If you find yourself at a lower frequency, use your breath to shift your state. Let music lift your spirits. Move your body to change your energy. This is not mere mood management. It is vibrational architecture. Through this practice, you will develop what the ancient ones called energetic precision, the ability to consciously calibrate your frequency to match your desired outcomes. The universe cannot help but respond to your adjusted vibration, for this is the way of the law. Chapter 14. The Myth of Lack. In the harsh winter of 1932, Dolores stood in her modest kitchen, gazing at her last loaf of bread and single bowl of soup. The widow's heart held no bitterness, only gratitude for what remained, when a knock echoed through her small home. She discovered 3 weary travelers seeking shelter from the cold. Without hesitation, she welcomed them, breaking her bread into 4 equal pieces and dividing her soup among their bowls. As they shared this simple meal, warmth filled more than their bodies, it illuminated their spirits. The next morning, Dolores woke to find baskets of food on her doorstep, left by neighbors who felt inexplicably moved to share their provisions. You see, the law of abundance operates beyond the visible plane of material resources. What appears as scarcity is merely a veil cast by limited thinking. When you release attachment to the illusion of not enough, you align with the truth of infinite supply. Consider Hank, whose grocery store crumbled during those same difficult years. After losing everything, he made an extraordinary choice. Instead of clutching tightly to what little remained, he began offering credit to struggling families, creating payment plans that honored their dignity. He shared farming tips with customers, teaching them to grow their own food. His store became more than a business. It transformed into a center of community abundance. Within months, his generosity returned. Farmers offered him the first choice of their harvest. Customers traveled extra miles to support his store. His books showed more profit than ever before. Yet profit had ceased to be his primary measure of wealth. The divine law responds not to your need, but to your consciousness. When lack appears in your experience, it signals not a shortage in the universe, but a constriction in your awareness. Abundance is not a quantity to be acquired. It is a frequency to be embodied. You cannot attract prosperity by focusing on its absence. The law aligns with your dominant vibration, not your desperate petition. When you serve from fullness rather than need, when you give from abundance rather than sacrifice, you activate the eternal flow of universal supply. Now step into this truth through direct experience today. Perform one spontaneous act of giving. Share something you value, not from duty or expectation, but from the pure joy of abundance in motion. Then observe how this act shifts your internal state. Notice how generosity dissolves the illusion of scarcity, revealing the endless flow that has always been your true inheritance. Chapter 15. The Hidden Belief. In the quiet halls of St. Mary's Hospital, Muriel tended to her patients with unwavering care. Yet her own heart carried wounds that no medicine could heal. Each evening she returned home to relationships that echoed a painful rhythm, partners who dismissed her needs, spoke harsh words, or vanished without explanation. Through her tears one night, a truth emerged like dawn breaking through storm clouds. The memory surfaced, her mother's voice. "Love always hurts, darling. That's how you know it's real." This childhood whisper had become a command to the universe, shaping her reality with the precision of an unseen sculptor. The law knows no difference between beliefs that lift you up and those that hold you down. It simply responds, manifesting experiences that match your deepest convictions. Your beliefs are spiritual blueprints, directing the flow of creation with unwavering accuracy. Raymond Wells traveled dusty roads selling household goods, his suitcase heavy with products but his pockets perpetually light. "Success is for other people," he would mutter, echoing his father's words. Yet one autumn morning, standing before a shopkeeper's mirror, he saw beyond his reflection to the source of his struggle. The belief, "I don't deserve success," had been directing his path like an invisible compass pointing toward lack. With determination, Raymond began crafting a new inner truth. Each sale became an opportunity to affirm his worth. Each customer interaction reflected his growing self-respect. Within months, his commission statements reflected not just a change in strategy, but a transformation in consciousness. You attract not what you want, but what you believe you deserve. The law responds not to your wishes, but to your deepest convictions about what is possible for you. These beliefs, often formed in childhood, operate like hidden commands in the universal system. Now take the sacred step of examining your own inner architecture. Write down a pattern that repeatedly appears in your life, in relationships, wealth, health, or any area where you feel stuck. Ask yourself, what must I believe to keep attracting this experience? Let the answer rise from your depths without judgment. Then craft the opposite belief. If you wrote, "I'm not worthy of love," inscribe, "I am deeply worthy of pure, respectful love." This new belief, when held with conviction, becomes a new command to the universe. Remember, the law is waiting to serve your highest vision. It requires only that you align your beliefs with the reality you wish to create. Chapter 16. The Sacred Pause. In the bustling world of telephone connections, Mildred found herself drawn to moments of stillness. Each day at noon, while others rushed to lunch counters and coffee shops, she would slip away to a quiet corner of the building. There, amid the whir of spinning dials and ringing bells, she discovered an oasis of silence. The space between what is and what will be holds a sacred power. Just as nature requires darkness before dawn, the law operates most powerfully in moments of apparent stillness. When you cease the constant doing, striving, and forcing, you create room for divine intelligence to work through you. Your role in manifestation is not endless action, but conscious allowing. The universe requires no assistance in growing flowers or orchestrating stars. It asks only that you prepare the soil of your consciousness and then step back in trust. Howard had worked metal since boyhood, his strong hands shaping iron into tools and trinkets. When the factory closed, leaving him without direction, his first instinct was to frantically search for the next opportunity. Yet something whispered to him to wait, to rest in the unknown. In that space of surrender, inspiration arose like morning mist. New possibilities emerged that his busy mind could never have conceived. The law operates with perfect timing, neither hurrying nor delaying. Your task is not to push the river, but to align with its flow. In the pause between breaths, in the silence between thoughts, in the space between what was and what will be, there lies the fertile void where all possibilities exist. You may feel that stillness is passive, that waiting means weakness. Yet consider the mighty oak that grows in absolute silence, or the butterfly that transforms in the darkness of its chrysalis. The greatest works of the universe unfold in quiet spaces. The void between your intention and its manifestation is not empty, it is pregnant with potential. When you honor this space, when you allow yourself to be still, you align with the natural rhythm of creation. This is not inaction, but the highest form of spiritual action. Sacred practice, find a quiet place where you will remain undisturbed. Sit comfortably with your spine straight and your palms resting gently upward. Close your eyes and breathe naturally. For 5 minutes, let this mantra flow with your breath. In the pause, I receive. If thoughts arise, simply observe them passing like clouds, always returning to the mantra. This practice aligns you with the creative silence from which all manifestation springs. Chapter 17. The Cycle of Creation. In the quiet hours before dawn, Elelana sat at her sewing machine, watching golden threads weave patterns she had not designed. Since her first awakening to the whispers of the universe, she had noticed a sacred rhythm emerging in her creations, both in cloth and in life. Each manifestation followed 4 distinct movements, like the seasons following one another in perfect order. You too have sensed this rhythm, though perhaps unconsciously. The law operates not through chaos, but through divine order. Just as a symphony requires each note to be played in sequence, manifestation follows a sacred progression: ask, align, allow, receive. First comes the asking, clear, focused intention born from the depths of your being. This is not mere wishing, but the soul's recognition of what seeks to emerge through you. Then follows alignment, where thought and feeling unite in harmony with your desire. This is the inner work of becoming one with what you seek. The third movement is allowing, releasing control and trusting in the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all creation. Finally comes receiving, the sacred act of embodying and accepting what the universe presents. Rufus, who carried letters through rain and shine, found himself struggling with persistent fatigue. One morning, applying this ancient rhythm, he first clearly asked for vibrant health. He aligned himself with wellness through visualization and feeling. He allowed it by releasing his grip on how healing should appear. And then, step by step, he began receiving, first through an unexpected book on nutrition, then through a chance meeting with a healer, until vitality flowed through him once more. This cycle mirrors the very breath of creation. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. Miss any step, and the flow becomes restricted. Many remain stuck in asking without aligning, or aligning without allowing. Some never open themselves to receive, blocking the very gifts they've called forth. Sacred practice: create your personal manifestation ritual, honoring each phase of the creative cycle. Begin in a quiet space. Light a candle to represent divine presence. For asking, write your intention on paper with absolute clarity. For alignment, close your eyes and feel the reality of your desire as if it's already manifest. To allow, physically open your hands and release all attachment to outcome. Finally, to receive, stand with arms wide and declare, I am open to receive all that the universe brings forth through this intention. Perform this ritual with reverence, understanding that you are participating in the eternal dance of creation itself. Let each step flow naturally into the next, just as day flows into night and spring into summer. This is not merely a practice, it is attunement to the very rhythm of the universe. Chapter 18: The Alchemy of Emotion. In the flickering light of early cinema, Greta stood before the camera, her face a canvas for the soul's deepest stirrings. Though no words escaped her lips, her eyes spoke volumes. Each day, as she embodied different emotional states for the silver screen, she noticed a curious phenomenon. The feelings she portrayed began weaving themselves into the fabric of her daily life. You too are crafting your reality through the subtle power of emotion. Every feeling that moves through you is more than a fleeting experience. It is energy in motion, a magnetic force that shapes the invisible matrix of creation. Your emotional state is the animator of your thoughts, the colorist of your consciousness, the very fuel that powers manifestation. The law responds not merely to what you think, but to what you feel. When thought and emotion align, they create a resonance that the universe cannot ignore. This is why affirmations without feeling fall flat, while emotion-charged thoughts manifest with startling speed. Consider Willard, whose life at the factory had become a study in suppression. For years, he bottled his frustrations and pushed down his dreams until one day the dam broke. In a moment of complete surrender to his rage, he discovered something extraordinary. Beneath the anger lay a wellspring of passionate purpose. The very energy he had feared became the fuel for transformation. This reveals a crucial truth about emotional alchemy. No feeling is inherently wrong or destructive. Each emotion carries within it the seed of its higher expression. Anger can transform into determination, fear can become discernment, sadness can deepen into compassion. The key lies not in suppression, but in conscious transmutation. Your emotions are not your enemies. They are messengers, teachers, and most importantly, creative forces. When you learn to work with them rather than against them, you unlock their transformative power. The law responds to emotional authenticity, not emotional perfection. Sacred practice. Each morning before the world's demands begin, take a moment to identify your dominant emotion. Place your hand on your heart and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Name it without judgment. Then pose this crucial question, what is this emotion creating in my life today? Record your findings in a simple journal. Notice patterns. Where does this emotion live in your body? What thoughts accompany it? Most importantly, how might this energy be redirected toward your highest good? This is not about forcing positive feelings, but about understanding the creative power of your emotional state. Let each emotion flow through you with awareness, knowing it carries the seeds of transformation within it. Chapter 19. The Practice of Presence. In the aftermath of war, Lucille would sit by her window each morning, watching the sun rise over peaceful streets. Having known the constant vigilance of wartime, she began to savor these moments of safety with an intensity that transformed her. Each breath became a gift, each quiet morning a treasure. As she learned to rest in these moments of peace, something shifted. Job offers appeared unexpectedly. Kind neighbors brought opportunities. Her life began to flourish in ways she hadn't imagined possible. You see, the divine law knows only one moment, this one. It responds not to your memories of lack or your worries about tomorrow, but to the vibration you hold right now. When you truly understand this, you realize that your point of power is always in the present moment. The past exists only as memory, the future only as imagination. The law works through the eternal now. Think of your consciousness as a radio signal. The universe can only receive and respond to the frequency you're currently broadcasting. When your mind dwells in past pain or future anxiety, you scatter your creative power. But when you anchor yourself in the present, you become a clear channel for manifestation. Ned, a telegraph technician, discovered this truth through necessity. After years of declining health, he began a simple practice. Each morning, as he prepared the telegraph equipment, he would feel the cool metal beneath his fingers, listen to the clicking sounds, and breathe consciously. These moments of complete presence became his medicine. Within months, his health transformed. The healing he sought came not through desperate seeking, but through learning to be fully present. This reveals the sacred paradox of manifestation. The more deeply you inhabit the present moment, the more powerfully you can create your future. When you resist what is, you create tension that blocks the flow of good. When you embrace the now, you open yourself to infinite possibility. Your creative power lies not in what happened yesterday or what might occur tomorrow. It exists in this breath, this heartbeat, this moment of awareness. The law responds to your present state of being, not your hopes or regrets. Sacred practice. Choose one daily activity that you typically perform automatically. It might be brushing your teeth, washing dishes, or walking to your door. Transform this ordinary action into a sacred ritual of presence. Feel every sensation. Notice every detail. Let your awareness rest fully in the experience. This is not merely an exercise in mindfulness. It is a practice in accessing your point of power. As you learn to be present in one activity, you strengthen your ability to create consciously in all moments. Chapter 20. The Soul's Compass. In a small town where music filled the air, Alma moved from house to house, tuning pianos with practiced precision. For years, she relied on her trained ear to guide her work. Then one day, something changed. As she sat before a weathered upright piano, she felt rather than heard what the instrument needed. A gentle knowing arose from within, leading her hands to places she wouldn't normally check. The piano sang with newfound brilliance. This inner guidance began extending beyond her work. She felt drawn to take different routes home, leading to chance encounters that opened new opportunities. She knew when to call old friends, arriving just when they needed support. Her life began flowing with an effortless grace that seemed orchestrated by an unseen hand. You see, within you dwells a sacred compass, an inner knowing that transcends logic and speaks the language of the divine law. This intuition is not mere wishful thinking or emotional impulse. It is the universe's direct line of communication, speaking through the still chambers of your heart. The law operates through this subtle channel, offering guidance that your rational mind might dismiss. Yet this guidance carries the seeds of your highest good, aligning you with possibilities your logical mind could never conceive. Bert, who drove his taxi through city streets for decades, learned to trust this inner compass. One night, an inexplicable urge prompted him to take a different route home. Later, he learned his usual path had been blocked by a serious accident. Another evening, he felt strongly drawn to decline a fare. The same passenger later made headlines for attempting to rob another driver. Time and again, his intuition proved itself not just reliable, but life-saving. This inner knowing speaks to you as well, though perhaps in whispers you've learned to ignore. It arrives as a sudden thought, a feeling in your body, a persistent image, or a quiet certainty that defies explanation. The law works through these subtle signals, guiding you toward alignment with your highest good. Sacred practice: find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Bring paper and pen. Close your eyes and ask one clear question about any area of your life seeking guidance. Sit in silence for several minutes, breathing gently. Write down the very first response that arises, whether it comes as a word, an image, a feeling, or a knowing. Do not judge or analyze the response. Simply record it. This first unfiltered impression often carries the purest wisdom. Part 3. The Divine Embodiment, Becoming the Law. Chapter 21. The Test of Truth. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, Sherman worked his mining route, as he had done countless times before. The rhythmic sound of his pickaxe echoed through the narrow passages until, without warning, the ground trembled and darkness engulfed him. As rocks sealed his exit, leaving him with only a small pocket of space and his lamp's dying light, Sherman faced a truth few ever encountered. The present moment was all he had. In those hours of solitude, as his breath became his only companion, Sherman discovered something remarkable. The more he surrendered to what was, rather than fighting against his circumstance, the more clearly he could feel a presence, a living force that had always been there, waiting to be acknowledged. His fear dissolved into profound trust, and in that trust he found peace. You see, the law reveals its greatest power not in moments of ease, but in times of trial, when your usual supports fall away, when darkness seems to surround you. You are being invited into a deeper relationship with truth. These moments of challenge are not punishments. They are sacred calibrations, asking you to demonstrate your alignment with the divine law. Virginia learned this truth when her husband fell ill. Each morning brought uncertain news. Each night carried the weight of possibility. Yet in this crucible of uncertainty, she made a choice that transformed everything. She chose to trust, not with blind faith, but with the deep knowing that the law operates with perfect wisdom, even when human eyes cannot see its purpose. As she sat by her husband's bedside, Virginia began to understand that her doubts were not weakness. They were opportunities to choose trust again and again. Each moment of fear became an invitation to remember the truth. The law never wavers, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. The universe does not send challenges to break your spirit, but to reveal your strength. When you face situations that test your faith in the law, you are being asked a sacred question. Do you still believe? This question comes not to shake your foundation, but to strengthen it, not to punish, but to prepare you for greater expressions of power. Sacred practice: take a moment now to recall a challenge you currently face or one from your past. Sit quietly with it, feeling its weight and texture. Then ask yourself, what belief is this situation asking me to confirm? Let the answer arise naturally from within. Write it down, beginning with the words, I know that. Make this statement your anchor, returning to it whenever doubt arises. This is not mere affirmation. It is a declaration of alignment with the law itself. Chapter 22. The Inner Sovereign. In the bustling heart of the city's central station, Irving managed countless trains, schedules, and staff with clockwork precision. His position granted him authority over hundreds, yet something within him whispered of a different kind of power. One morning, following an inner calling he could no longer ignore, he placed his resignation letter on his desk. The world expected him to fall into obscurity. Instead, he discovered that as his attachment to external authority diminished, a deeper influence emerged. Without a title to hide behind, Irving spoke his truth freely, mentored others authentically, and found his wisdom sought after more than ever before. You possess this same innate power, not the kind bestowed by titles or credentials, but the sovereign authority that flows from alignment with your inner truth. This power cannot be granted or taken away, for it is your spiritual birthright. The divine law responds not to your position in the world, but to your position within yourself. When you stand firmly in your truth, the universe moves mountains. When you release the need for external validation, you activate a force greater than any earthly authority. This is the forgotten wisdom. Sovereignty is not something you achieve, it is something you remember. Consider Maud, who spent years stitching other designers' visions into reality. She sought permission from everyone, her family, her peers, the fashion industry, to create what her heart envisioned. Then, one day, while holding a piece of silk in her hands, she realized she had been asking the wrong people. The only permission she needed was her own. Within months, Maud launched her own collection. She didn't wait for industry approval or external validation. She simply began creating from her truth. To her surprise, the very gatekeepers who once intimidated her now sought her unique vision. This is the paradox of true power. It flows not from controlling others, but from owning yourself. The divine law recognizes and responds to this internal sovereignty. When you claim your spiritual authority, the external world rearranges itself to match your inner stance. Sacred practice. Take your journal and write these words. I claim my inner throne. Feel the weight of this declaration as the ink flows across the page, marking your commitment to spiritual sovereignty. Then list 5 specific ways you will embody this sovereignty today. When you embody the law so completely that your mere presence shifts energy, you have discovered the deepest magic. Others are transformed not by your words or actions, but by their proximity to your aligned state of being. Sacred practice. Before entering any room or space, pause for a moment of sacred recognition. Silently speak these words with the full knowledge of their power. My light transforms this room. Do not force change or try to make anything happen. Simply carry the awareness that your aligned presence is enough. Watch as the energy shifts naturally around you. This is not about doing, it is about being the law in action. Chapter 27. The Divine Timeline. In a small attic workshop bathed in morning light, Phyllis bent over her sewing machine, threading an idea into reality. Night after night, she refined her invention, a device that would transform the way clothing could adapt to different body shapes. The world wasn't ready for her vision, yet she continued, guided by an inner knowing that transcended time. The law works through divine timing, moving with a wisdom beyond human understanding. Your role is not to force the river's flow, but to maintain unwavering alignment with your vision while the universe orchestrates the perfect moment of manifestation. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up each day to check its progress. The law operates with similar precision. Each dream manifests according to an unseen schedule of spiritual ripeness. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active trust in the perfect unfolding of divine order. For 7 years, Phyllis's invention gathered dust in patent offices, yet she held her vision steady, knowing that timing was not hers to control. When her device finally reached the market, it revolutionized adaptive clothing for those with physical challenges. The delay had served a greater purpose, allowing the world to develop the exact need for her creation. George, a radio announcer, faced a similar test of faith. For decades, he had nurtured a vision of creating programming that would uplift humanity's consciousness. Station after station rejected his proposal. The night before he planned to abandon his dream, the phone rang. A new network was launching, dedicated entirely to spiritual growth. They had been searching for exactly his vision. The universe's timing is immaculate. What appears as delay is often divine preparation, setting the stage for a manifestation far greater than your original vision. The law responds not to your timeline, but to your sustained vibration of certainty. When you find yourself in the waiting space, remember, manifestation is already complete in the unseen realm. Your role is to maintain alignment with this truth, allowing the perfect timing of its physical expression. The law never fails. It simply unfolds according to a schedule designed for the highest good of all involved. Sacred practice. Each morning, before the world's demands begin, center yourself in this eternal truth. Speak with quiet authority. It is already mine. I trust the perfect timing of its arrival. Let these words sink deeply into your being, not as hope, but as recognition of an immutable law. Your desire already exists in the invisible realm. Time is simply the bridge between your recognition and its physical manifestation. Chapter 28. The Law Made Flesh. In the heart of a small southern church, many lifted their voices in song, unaware that each note was crafting her destiny. I walk in abundance, she sang, and within days, unexpected blessings flowed. Peace surrounds me like a river, and tranquility began permeating her circumstances. Through her music, she had unknowingly aligned with the highest expression of the law. You must understand that true mastery of the divine law transcends mere knowledge. It demands complete embodiment, where every thought, word, and action vibrates in perfect harmony with universal truth. When you reach this state of alignment, you become a living expression of the law itself. The law seeks full expression through you. It is not content with partial alignment or occasional practice. It calls for the complete integration of spiritual truth into every facet of your being. Your words must match your thoughts, your actions must reflect your intentions, and your energy must resonate with your highest understanding. Earl, writing for the city newspaper, discovered this truth through an unexpected channel. His weekly column, Visions of Tomorrow, began as simple journalism. Yet, as he wrote of a more harmonious community, those very scenarios materialized in the streets he described. His words, charged with conviction and aligned with truth, became blueprints for reality. This is the deeper mystery of the law. These are not tasks to complete, but expressions of your inherent authority, sacred gestures that affirm the power already dwelling within you. Let each action arise from the truth that you are already complete, already powerful, already sovereign in your being. As you write, know that these words are more than mere intentions. They are proclamations of the divine law working through you, anchoring your rightful place in the cosmic order. Feel how each written word resonates with the eternal truth of your soul's authority. Chapter 23: The Path of Effortless Power. In the dimly lit jazz clubs of the city, Clyde's saxophone once sang with effortless grace. Yet now his melodies carried the weight of strain. Night after night, he pushed harder, more gigs, more practice, more effort, until the music itself began to resist. His hands trembled from exhaustion, and the notes that once flowed like water now emerged forced and mechanical. The law works not through strain, but through alignment. When you cease struggling against the current of life, you tap into a power greater than any human effort could produce. This truth revealed itself to Clyde one evening when, too tired to perform, he simply closed his eyes and allowed the music to play through him. In that moment of surrender, something shifted. The melody poured forth with an ease he hadn't known since his early days. The universe responds not to your striving, but to your state of being. When you release the grip of control, you open yourself to the natural flow of divine orchestration. This is not passive resignation, but active alignment with a higher intelligence. Consider Ida, who managed her apartment building with iron-fisted control. Every late payment sparked anxiety. Every maintenance issue demanded her immediate attention. She lived in constant fear that, without her vigilance, everything would fall apart. Then, during a moment of complete exhaustion, she realized she could no longer maintain this level of control. In that space of surrender, Ida began trusting in a higher order. She stopped judging tenants and started blessing them instead. She released her grip on every detail and focused solely on maintaining her own peace. To her amazement, rent payments became more regular. Quality tenants appeared, and maintenance issues resolved themselves with unexpected ease. This is the paradox of divine law. What you cease to control, you begin to influence. Power flows not from forcing, but from allowing. When you step back from the constant doing, you create space for the universe to work through you rather than against you. The law requires no force. It asks only for your alignment and trust. Like a river that flows naturally around obstacles, creation moves most powerfully when unimpeded by human struggle. Sacred practice. Select one area of your life where you've been pushing too hard. Write in your journal, "I trust the law is working here." Each day, return to this declaration and allow yourself to feel the relief of releasing control. Notice how situations begin to resolve themselves when you step out of their way. The universe has been waiting to support you. You need only allow it. Chapter 24: The Leap of Knowing. In the quiet corner of his repair shop, Oscar's hands moved across broken typewriters with practiced precision. Yet his mind dwelled not on the mechanical mysteries before him, but on an unshakable knowing that pulsed through his being. Though he had not yet received word about the position of master craftsman at the prestigious Writers' Guild, he felt the role was already his. This was not mere wishful thinking. It was a bone-deep certainty that transcended logic. You see, there exists a spiritual technology more powerful than hope, more certain than logic itself. When you move beyond wanting and wishing into the realm of knowing, you tap into the very frequency of manifestation. This knowing is not arrogance. It is alignment with what already exists in the spiritual plane. The law responds not to what you hope for, but to what you vibrate as truth. Oscar did not spend his days anxiously awaiting news. He simply continued his work with the quiet confidence of one who knows their place in the universe. When the letter arrived confirming his appointment, it felt less like a surprise and more like a natural confirmation of what he had already accepted as real. When you embody the law so completely that your mere presence shifts energy, you have discovered the deepest magic. Others are transformed not by your words or actions, but by their proximity to your aligned state of being. Sacred practice. Before entering any room or space, pause for a moment of sacred recognition. Silently speak these words with the full knowledge of their power. My light transforms this room. Do not force change or try to make anything happen. Simply carry the awareness that your aligned presence is enough. Watch as the energy shifts naturally around you. This is not about doing, it is about being the law in action. Chapter 27. The Divine Timeline. In a small attic workshop bathed in morning light, Phyllis bent over her sewing machine, threading an idea into reality. Night after night, she refined her invention, a device that would transform the way clothing could adapt to different body shapes. The world wasn't ready for her vision, yet she continued, guided by an inner knowing that transcended time. The law works through divine timing, moving with a wisdom beyond human understanding. Your role is not to force the river's flow, but to maintain unwavering alignment with your vision while the universe orchestrates the perfect moment of manifestation. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up each day to check its progress. The law operates with similar precision. Each dream manifests according to an unseen schedule of spiritual ripeness. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active trust in the perfect unfolding of divine order. For 7 years, Phyllis's invention gathered dust in patent offices, yet she held her vision steady, knowing that timing was not hers to control. When her device finally reached the market, it revolutionized adaptive clothing for those with physical challenges. The delay had served a greater purpose, allowing the world to develop the exact need for her creation. George, a radio announcer, faced a similar test of faith. For decades, he had nurtured a vision of creating programming that would uplift humanity's consciousness. Station after station rejected his proposal. The night before he planned to abandon his dream, the phone rang. A new network was launching, dedicated entirely to spiritual growth. They had been searching for exactly his vision. The universe's timing is immaculate. What appears as delay is often divine preparation, setting the stage for a manifestation far greater than your original vision. The law responds not to your timeline, but to your sustained vibration of certainty. When you find yourself in the waiting space, remember, manifestation is already complete in the unseen realm. Your role is to maintain alignment with this truth, allowing the perfect timing of its physical expression. The law never fails. It simply unfolds according to a schedule designed for the highest good of all involved. Sacred practice each morning before the world's demands begin. Center yourself in this eternal truth. Speak with quiet authority. It is already mine. I trust the perfect timing of its arrival. Let these words sink deeply into your being, not as hope, but as recognition of an immutable law. Your desire already exists in the invisible realm. Time is simply the bridge between your recognition and its physical manifestation. Chapter 28. The Law Made Flesh. In the heart of a small southern church, many lifted their voices in song, unaware that each note was crafting her destiny. I walk in abundance, she sang, and within days, unexpected blessings flowed. Peace surrounds me like a river, and tranquility began permeating her circumstances. Through her music, she had unknowingly aligned with the highest expression of the law. You must understand that true mastery of the divine law transcends mere knowledge. It demands complete embodiment, where every thought, word, and action vibrates in perfect harmony with universal truth. When you reach this state of alignment, you become a living expression of the law itself. The law seeks full expression through you. It is not content with partial alignment or occasional practice. It calls for the complete integration of spiritual truth into every facet of your being. Your words must match your thoughts, your actions must reflect your intentions, and your energy must resonate with your highest understanding. Earl, writing for the city newspaper, discovered this truth through an unexpected channel. His weekly column, Visions of Tomorrow, began as simple journalism. Yet, as he wrote of a more harmonious community, those very scenarios materialized in the streets he described. His words, charged with conviction and aligned with truth, became blueprints for reality. This is the deeper mystery of the law. When you stop trying to control the law and instead allow it to flow through you, your very presence becomes transformative. You no longer need to consciously direct energy or manipulate circumstances. Simply by being, you create ripples of alignment in the world around you. The law is not a tool to wield, it is a truth to embody. When you live in complete resonance with this understanding, your words carry the weight of creation, your actions spark transformation, and your mere presence shifts energy fields. You become a living embodiment of the principle you once sought to master. Sacred practice, choose one divine quality, faith, peace, abundance, and let it guide you throughout your day. Ask yourself, how can I live this quality in my words, actions, and thoughts today? Let it infuse every interaction, every decision, every breath. Make it your constant companion, your inner compass pointing toward truth. This is not about performing or pretending. It is about allowing this truth to express itself naturally through your being. Open yourself as a clear channel for this quality and watch as your world mirrors your alignment. Circumstances and encounters will arrange themselves to reflect the energy you embody. In this way, you become both the vessel and the expression of universal law. Chapter 29: The Master Within. Dorothy stood before her mirror, no longer searching for answers in her reflection. The woman who once questioned every move now radiated quiet certainty. As she prepared for her day at the community center, she felt wisdom flowing naturally through her. Those who sought her counsel saw not her past struggles, but the light of truth shining from her presence. You stand at the same threshold of transformation. The law has ceased to be something external to grasp. It has become the essence of your being. True mastery arrives quietly, not with fanfare, but with the deep knowing that you are one with the principle itself. The divine law seeks expression through you, not as something to learn, but as something you have become. When you embody it fully, teaching occurs naturally through your presence, not your words. Walt, who once doubted the validity of these universal principles, faced a young man whose skepticism mirrored his own former doubts. In that moment, something shifted. Without preaching or convincing, Walt simply held space. His quiet confidence spoke volumes, stirring the same remembering that had transformed him years earlier. This is the nature of true mastery, not in proclamations or persuasion, but in being a living demonstration of the law. The doubt you once carried transforms into unshakable knowing. The questions that once plagued you dissolve into clarity. You have become what you sought. You no longer need external validation. The law beats in your heart, flows through your veins, and speaks through your presence. Like Dorothy and Walt, you have crossed the bridge from seeker to knower, from student to master. Sacred practice, find a quiet sanctuary. Close your eyes and let your breath settle into a gentle rhythm. Visualize your younger self, the one full of questions and yearning for answers. Look deeply into those eyes with the wisdom you now carry. See both the innocence and the untapped potential that always resided there. Speak from your heart. You are ready. You have always been ready. Let this recognition wash over you, healing any lingering doubts. Every step, every question, every moment of uncertainty was perfectly orchestrated to bring you to this point of mastery. Chapter 30: The Light You Give the World. You have walked through the sacred gates of understanding and now witnessed the divine cycle completing itself. Harold, who once glimpsed a glowing path in dreams, now sits at his desk each morning, pen poised over paper. The whispers that once guided him now flow through him, touching those who stand where he once stood. His words carry the resonance of lived truth, not borrowed wisdom. The law works through you in precisely this way. When you embody its principles fully, sharing becomes as natural as breathing. Your alignment overflows, creating ripples that touch countless lives. This is not ego-driven teaching, but the natural expression of light through a clear vessel. Clara, who discovered an ancient scroll that spoke directly to her soul, now opens her home each week to seekers drawn to the same eternal wisdom. She does not lecture or impose. She simply holds space, allowing others to remember what they have always known. This is the highest expression of the law. When personal transformation becomes a universal contribution, there is no need to force it. The universe brings those who are ready to receive the light you carry. Notice how Harold and Clara did not set out to become teachers. They simply became clear channels for truth, and others naturally gathered around their flame. Authentic spiritual service arises not from proclamation, but from presence. Your journey has prepared you for this sacred role. Every doubt, every breakthrough, every surrender has equipped you to guide others, not from a place of superiority, but from a space of shared remembering. The law now seeks expression through your awakened consciousness. Those who are ready will be drawn to your light. Just as you were drawn to the light of others, this is about awakening leaders, not creating followers. Sacred practice, in the silence of your heart, ask, who is ready for the light I now carry? Listen, the universe will guide them to you. When they arrive, share not from memory, but from presence. Teach not through instruction, but through embodiment. Let your life be the lesson and your peace the invitation. Reach out, share, guide, pass it forward. Conclusion. You have crossed a sacred threshold. The wisdom in these chapters has not been given to you, it has been awakened within you. What appeared as words on a page were keys unlocking the chambers of ancient knowing that have always resided in your heart. The divine law now flows through you as naturally as breath. You understand that each thought, feeling, and moment of alignment shapes the fabric of your reality. This is not power bestowed, it is a birthright remembered. Your journey does not end with the closing of this book. It marks the beginning of your true work, living as a conscious co-creator with the universe. Every circumstance is your classroom, every challenge your opportunity to demonstrate mastery, every interaction a chance to radiate truth. You no longer need guidance outside yourself. The master teacher dwells within. The law responds to your vibration with perfect precision, reflecting the frequency of your being. Your life becomes the teaching, your presence, the invitation for others to remember their own divine nature. The universe now moves through you with greater power. You understand that manifestation is not about forcing or controlling, but about allowing the natural expression of aligned energy. Your thoughts are electric, your emotions magnetic, together forming the blueprint of your reality. Walk forward now as one who knows. Let your light shine, not through preaching, but through presence. Trust in divine timing. Each soul you meet is being led to their own awakening, just as you were led to yours. Mastery was never something to achieve, it was always something to remember. And now you have remembered. Your journey does not end here. Click on the next audiobook that promises to completely transform your perspective.